The Airbus A321XLR had one of the best starts to an aircraft series, if you will, in quite a while at the 2019 Paris Air Show, following hundreds of orders coming in during its first week. Now though, it's facing controversy coming directly from rival aircraft manufacturer Boeing, saying that the aircraft is going to be a danger in the future.
People 851, turn right heading 180. Papa, turn right 245, report localizer established 27.
It's not often we'll see aircraft manufacturers go ahead and comment on other aircraft from other manufacturers in a negative light. In fact, I'd say it's quite rare. So in the past few days, to hear comments made from Boeing with regards to the A321XLR have come as quite a bit of a shock. The European Union Safety Agency received a submission coming from the American aircraft manufacturer that claimed an integrally located fuel tank on the XLR can pose a fire hazard. These fuel tanks are integral essentially to the structure of the airframe of the XLR, and also offer less redundancy than those of the usual conventionally located tanks, and are basically, like what I mentioned earlier, more prone to potentially hazardous results in the case of the aircraft being involved in an emergency. I thought I'd mention, the A321XLR is yet to have actually started flying, let alone production. However, this is something that is already being discussed, given the aircraft having a number of orders and progression on getting, say, the type ready for production coming. It's very important to iron out any potential concerns and, of course, any problems with the aircraft before it gets airborne, as the last thing you want is these delays and also problems to be catastrophic when passengers are on board. The two additional fuel tanks are located in the cargo hold of the aircraft. The two additional tanks mean that the airliner has the longest range in the world for any aircraft that slots into the single-aisle portfolio. Heating equipment and also structural parts could also be triggered and or damaged if the landing gear was damaged and collapsed, specifically during a runway excursion of sorts. This is the example that was given. In doing this, a fire would take place, and this is where Boeing's problem with the type has been found and what they've made mention of. Where do we go from here though? The report, which was originally revealed to us by Bloomberg and can be found in the description box below, notes that Airbus needs to go directly to the European Union Safety Agency to be able to prove that their design is thorough enough to prevent this sort of thing from happening, essentially a fire taking place, and that their fuel tanks and the locations of it are not going to be hazardous and, of course, a danger to the passengers flying on board and, of course, the crew on board the aircraft. Often I'll write and not really delve into my opinions on certain topics purely to avoid controversy and keep it as factual as possible, and of course not to be biased or impartial to certain topics. However, I can't help but get a bit of an odd feeling while writing about this. I went to my Discord server, which you can join below in the description, to also better understand what people's thoughts were on the situation. On one hand, I truly believe that Boeing going to the EASA to talk about their concerns with the A321XLR and how it could pose a major safety risk is absolutely brilliant and allows the two companies to work hand in hand at preventing any further incidents taking place within the aviation industry in the future, even though the A321XLR is still years away from operating with customers. However, I also believe that Boeing should be focusing on certain issues within their own operations, like that of the quality assurance with the 787 that they were only recently fined on for. You can find the video about that was published on the channel yesterday. So the question sits there and is not just posed by me, but also many others on social media and of course the world more greatly. That is, what are the exact intentions at heart of this? This comes from the most non-attacking and biased standpoint, but rather coming from analysing Boeing's movements over the past 2 years, which has actually seen them themselves extensively cover up their own safety faults within their aircraft, like that of the 737 MAX. Either way though, and like I've mentioned many times in this video alone, safety is of paramount importance. So, if this prevents anything, I'd very much say it's a brilliant result, all things considering, and something Airbus definitely needs to check in on to make sure this isn't a safety fault with an aircraft that hasn't even taken to the skies yet. They'll tweak that design, and of course, like I mentioned, it's the best possible time for that to happen. Not necessarily in the design phase as the aircraft has already been launched, but they can make tweaks at the moment, and this is what they'll go ahead and do should they find the problem there. What are your thoughts though? Let me know down below, and like always, thank you so much for your support. If you have any thoughts on the second part of this video where I really dived into Boeing's comment and their intent regarding this, let me know as well. See you in the next video.